Apple's iPhone 15 Pro comes with a huge new A17 Pro chip upgrade, and to be completely honest, I was initially very disappointed with Apple's lackluster claims of only 10% single core and 20% graphics performance gains over last year's A16. But we just got some brand new leaked benchmarks that show that Apple was drastically underestimating the real-world app and game performance that we should actually expect, and in this video, I'll go through those leaked scores and explain what to expect, why we're seeing those numbers, and what it means for you. It seems like Apple is going the route of setting expectations low and exceeding them because their initial 10% single core performance gain was very disappointing, with initial benchmarks showing a 9.3% gain, being the lowest gain in the history of Apple's A-series iPhone chips. But then, out of nowhere, another leaked Geekbench 6 score showed up with a huge gain, showing a whopping single core score of 2,999, which represents a very impressive 19% improvement. But then, after that, more and more leaked scores kept pouring in, and it seems like we're landing at an average of around 2,850 points in single core, leading to a more modest 13% gain, which is still okay and a bit better than what Apple quoted. Now, in terms of multi-core performance, this one's a bit weird because the initial scores sat at around 7,192 points, which is a fairly weak 10.5% gain compared to the A16. But then it shot up to a high of 7,779, which gives us a nice 22% gain. But since then, we've been seeing scores around 7,300, which will give us a 14% boost, which is also okay considering we have the same core layout as before. And then getting into graphics, Apple's initial claim of a 20% graphics performance boost was quite low considering the fact that they added one extra GPU core, which is essentially 20% more cores. This basically shows that Apple didn't actually have to improve graphics performance at all on a per core basis. They could have simply added another identical A16 GPU core and called it good, which is why I was so disappointed, which leads me to this brand new leaked benchmark that proves me wrong. But first, I've got to show you this, the new iceMag power bank from our sponsor Charge, which you definitely need if you want to truly take advantage of the new A17 Pro chip's performance for things like gaming. The iceMag is the world's first magnetic power bank with active fan cooling, making it perfect for charging while gaming. So you simply place it on the back of your iPhone using MagSafe, and the high capacity 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack will charge your iPhone while the 8,000 RPM fan keeps it cool so it doesn't slow down, which you can actually see through the sleek transparent design with dynamic RGB lighting. And if you need faster charging, it can also output a huge 20 watts of power with the included USB-C to C cable, which is perfect for the new iPhone 15s. And you can order it today using the link in the description below. Now, getting back to the new leaked benchmarks, GFX Bench has long been a reliable benchmark that shows the gaming performance we should expect from modern tech devices. And in the Aztec Ruins normal tier off-screen test, the A17 Pro chip gave us a whopping 45% boost compared to the A16, which is a huge gain and totally unexpected when you look at Apple's claim of a 20% gain. Now, it wasn't that good in every test, as some of them like Manhattan showed a 31.5% gain and some being 27% like in the Aztec Ruins high tier, but still, these are better real-world results than we expected. So if you're trying to make sense of how there's such a big performance disparity between Apple's claims and what we're seeing here, I think there are a couple of good reasons for it. Reason number one is that Apple seems to be using Geekbench 6 as their graphics benchmark for comparisons, and we actually just got leaked scores for that as well. Based on a bunch of these scores, it seems like the average metal score is around 27,400 points for the A17 Pro, which gives us a gain of around 23%, which isn't bad at all. but nowhere near the gains we got in GFX Bench, so maybe the Geekbench graphics test isn't as optimized yet in the current 6.2 version. Now, reason number 2 is that all of those extra GPU upgrades that Apple mentioned might not impact the raw graphics power numbers in benchmarks as much as they do in actual real-world game performance, which is much better simulated in gaming benchmarks like GFX Bench and 3D Mark's Wildlife Extreme. That actually sounds a whole lot more reasonable to me because these new GPU changes could be more on the back end, which greatly help with gaming efficiency and optimization, sort of like how Apple's unified memory architecture helped a ton for gaming performance on the M series Mac chips compared to Intel. Now, if you don't know which new A17 Pro GPU changes I'm talking about, let me explain them. The first one is Metal FX, which was previously limited to Apple's M1 and M2 chips, but now is supported on the A17 Pro. It's basically a new API that game developers can use to greatly improve the performance of a game at higher resolutions like 4K by simply upscaling 1080p to simulated 4K in real time, making it look similar to native 4K resolution without the need for a ton of graphics power, which would usually cause low frame rate performance. For example, in quality mode, it gave an M1 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro a 35% boost in FPS, up to a playable 70 FPS in Resident Evil Village, but in performance mode, it more than doubled the FPS up to 111, outperforming an RTX 3070 graphics card. Metal FX actually utilizes the Neural Engine, which is now 2 times more powerful than before, so that's actually gonna help the GPU out a lot. The A17 Pro now also includes mesh shaders with a new GPU shader architecture, which essentially optimizes the pipeline of graphics shading, combining multiple steps from a traditional GPU pipeline into less tasks or steps, which basically improves graphics performance, making the GPU use less power thanks to being more efficient. And then finally, the A17 Pro has dedicated hardware ray tracing cores, which boost ray tracing performance by 4 times, finally allowing the iPhone 15 Pro to run incredibly good-looking AAA games for the first time ever, which Apple says is basically console gaming levels of performance. So with all that said, what does this mean? Well, it means that with these announcements, Apple is officially entering the AAA game market and sending a message to game makers that they should start supporting Apple Silicon, including the iPhone, the iPad, and the Mac, which, by the way, we now know will be getting all of the huge upgrades in ray tracing with the M3 line of chips. It also means the iPhone will be known as the best phone in the world for gaming, offering the best quality and most consistent frame rates starting now, which will make it very hard for other Android phone makers to compete. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, subscribe above for our launch day videos, and definitely check out the Charge iSmack battery pack with active cooling using the link below, and definitely check out one of those 2 videos over there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.